Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. I hope to do regular readings directly online on YouTube now for our new moons and our full moons. I think we've come into a time that we are really in that changing time. And I think March 2022 is one of the biggest changes of time that we're actually going to see in history. So let me share my screen here to show you exactly what I am talking about. Now, one of the things you see on the screen here, I'm back to the 19th of December of last year, and you're thinking, what does this new moon energy in March of 2022 have to do with the new moon, with the December 19th of 2021? Well, to me, it has everything to do. And one of the things that we have to remember is that nothing in life is coincidental. A lot of the energies that we are dealing with here in March of 2022 really began back around the later part of December. When we look at the actual chart on the 19th of December, we actually see that Venus and Pluto were hanging out together in the sign of Capricorn. On the 19th of December, Venus started to retrograde. Venus started to make her way backward. Now we see Venus retrograding every 2 years. We see this happen. And one of the things I'm going to show you in relatively fast motion here so we can see is that Venus is going to actually transit. She's going to retrograde all the way back past the sun. For the last 2 years, for the 2 years previous to December of 2021, Venus was an evening star. And so you wouldn't see Venus in the morning. You would see her very high in the sky in the evenings. And this is also the dance that happens in the heavens. And when Venus goes from an evening star to a morning star, she actually becomes a much more powerful type of a star or planet. So this is the 19th of December. Now I'm going to roll us through. I'm going to change the alignment of the planets here by 1 day at a time. So by the time we get to the 21st, 22nd of December, the sun had then moved into Capricorn. Watch. Venus now is coming backwards. Venus is backing up. So we now see Venus and Mercury. This is on the 29th of December. Venus and Mercury are now holding the same space. Venus is our planet of love, of pleasure, of values, of people, places, things. When Venus retrograde, Venus is asking us, what do you love? Who do you love? Who do you like hanging out with? You may say, oh, but Holly, I am not a Capricorn. I know that. But as above, so below, which means that if Venus is retrograding up here in the heavens, we are feeling it down here. When we got to about the 29th of December last year, Venus and Mercury was having a long conversation, and internally we were feeling that. Right next to it is Pluto. Pluto set at 25 degrees, Mercury set at 24, Venus set at 24. They were very much conjoined together. Pluto was saying, what in your life do you need to release and let go of? Mercury was saying, let's talk about that. Mercury is our planet of communication. Let's have that conversation, shall we? And Venus is saying, I'm retrograding. I don't actually right now know what I love. I'll get back to you on that. Also, the 29th of December, one of the other things we see is that Saturn and Uranus up in the sky, Saturn at the 29th of December sat at 11 degrees Aquarius, Uranus sat at 10 degrees Taurus. In astrology, both of those are in fixed signs. Aquarius is fixed, Taurus is fixed. They have had such a dance throughout 2021. And what we're going to see is that in the early part of 2022, that dance kind of gets let go of. But what is that dance? Saturn throughout 2021 says, I want to keep everything the same. Like, I really want to be free. I don't want to feel restrictions. I want to be free, but I want to keep things the same. Uranus is the planet of unexpected events. Uranus says, Saturn, we made a huge change in January. You yourself, Saturn, made a huge change in January of 2020. There is nothing the same. We are into the old. Come on, Saturn, get with the program. And so squares within all of us, we had been feeling that. Let's move forward for another few days. Let's actually move our way forward now. And as I go per day, what I'm showing on the screen here is the planets as they move around. Now, one of the big things, I want to come back again for a second. I want to come back to the 18th of January. There were so many things that took place on the 18th of January. First and foremost, we had the nodal axis, the North Node and the South Node. They have, for the 2 years previous to January, they had been going through the signs of Sagittarius and the signs of Gemini. On the 19th, we're going to see there is a change of that axis. We're going to see it then move into, let's do that one-day change. Now the axis is moved to Scorpio and Taurus. So for the next 2 years, they're going to move their way through Taurus and Scorpio. While we look on the 18th and 19th, now what has happened in January, when we looked back at the ending part of December there, we saw that Uranus and Saturn were in a fight, but Uranus was retrograding. Uranus, that planet of unexpected events. Saturn, that planet of let's keep things the same, let's keep things old. Well, Uranus actually did turn direct on the 18th of January. Now Uranus is just as strong as Saturn, and that square is really becoming very, very strong into January. But again, we're still in that story of Venus retrograding. I still don't know what I love. I'll let you know if I really want to hang out with these people or I want to release them from my life. I want to tell you if I love the type of work I do, or maybe it's time to let that go. We have so much going on into the heavens. And through that time of January, I had so many of my clients saying, I'm feeling so confused, Holly. I feel so confused. Yes, that is why. Why? We've got so much shifting and changing. So internally, you are actually feeling so much of that shifting and changing yourself. Now, the other thing we want to watch here is Venus is retrograding. So you're going to see Venus going sort of in a backward motion, presently at 11 degrees. I'm at 22nd of January here. We're going to see Venus come all the way back to Venus comes back to that 10, 11 sort of degrees. But what we're also seeing, and I promise I will get to the new moon in March, but this is where it all sort of started. Let us watch Mars here. Mars is finishing off. It's traveling through Sagittarius, and we're going to see Mars skip into the next sign of Capricorn. There we are. We are there on the 24th of January. Now, one of the things when I teach astrology, we talk about things of how strong are some planets. And sometimes planets are a lot stronger than others when they are in their home sign. We say when they're in their dignity. For instance, Jupiter in January, and still as we are talking right now, Jupiter is in the sign of Pisces. Jupiter in ancient astrology ruled the sign of Pisces. So Jupiter is very strong when she goes through Pisces. Saturn rules the sign of Aquarius. So she's very, very strong in the sign of Aquarius. Now, Mars has moved into the sign of Capricorn. Does Mars rule Capricorn? No. Mars rules Aries and Mars rules Scorpio. So they are very strong in those signs. However, sometimes with planets, they move into signs that we say they don't rule them, but they are exalted there. And if you go back to your diary, go back to your calendar, go back to your timing of around the 24th of January, when Mars moved into Capricorn, you felt this real big boot in the behind to get things organized, to get things put into motion, to get things started, to get things rolling. And we also had missed, let's go back to see, I want to see the exact day here, when Venus actually crosses. So when we come back to the 8th of January, Venus was backing up, the sun was moving forward. So they became exact on the 8th of January. We're going to see when we get to the 9th of January, the sun is moving on, Venus is moving backwards. That's when Venus became a morning star, which she will be for the next 2 years. But on that 9th of January, Venus is still retrograding. She's still moving backwards. I wanted to show you that. So let's come back to where I was talking there. There is Mars on the 25th of January, just moved into Capricorn. So let's sort of rush forward a little bit now until we get to the 28th. So on the 28th of January at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Venus was retrograding. When we go to the next day, the 29th of January, Venus is now moving forward. And Mercury is retrograding. Mercury stays retrograding right up until the 4th of February. But really it is the dance of Venus and Mars and Pluto that we are going to be watching. So I'm going to move quickly along here because I do want to get to our new moon. But I want to show you when we get to about the 7th of February, Mars is catching up with Venus. And Mars and Venus are both in the sign of Capricorn. Uranus, that planet of unexpected events, is also in the sign of Taurus, which is also an earth sign. So again, if you go back to your calendar, if you keep a calendar, if you go back to your calendar around the 7th of February, you will see that there were some unexpected events that showed up in your life. Again, remember, as above, so below. May have had some conversations that took place at your workplace. Capricorn can often be connected to our workplace. It can be connected to the males within our life as well. And then as we moved our way forward, you can see that Mars is very quickly catching up with Venus. And that seems to have been the whole entire story for pretty much the whole month of February. So as we watch, then we've got both Mars and Venus now are moving their way towards Pluto, which means Venus is not out of her shadow. Remember, Venus had gone all the way up to 26 degrees when she sort of hit a wall and started to retrograde back. She come all the way back to 11 degrees, but until she goes up and reaches 26 degrees, which was where she hit that wall, we say that Venus is in her shadow period. So she's going back. She's rethinking. She is now moving forward, but she seems like she's going over some old ground. She's researching she's made her decisions internally. She made those decisions through retrograding. Where Mars is exalted in Capricorn, Mars is being a little bit of a bully to Venus and saying, come on, make up your mind. What are you doing? Don't stall out here. Let's keep our act going. And Venus is just kind of like, cool it, Mars, cool it. We will get there. But you can see that one of the big things, and this is where we're headed for our new moon in March. Venus and Mars are making their way towards Pluto. So let's move it now for a few days. So let's go right on up until, because I do want to get to that new moon. But I wanted to show you where and how we've got this alignment that actually started back in December. So then Mars and Venus. So let's now come on up to, let's go to the 28th of February. Now we've got it pretty close here. We've got Mars at 25 degrees. Venus is at 25 degrees. She's not out of her shadow yet. She still has stuff she's trying to work on and work out and figure out and put into place. She's got a plan going. You all have a plan going. It's just that you're feeling that Mars is rushing you along. Do remember, this is happening in your personal chart as well. And if you have your personal chart, look on the outside rim of your chart to see where the sign of Capricorn is. What house within the chart is that Capricorn? That's where all of this fragmentation is happening within your chart. Let's go to our new moon day. On the 2nd of March, I'm in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Eastern Canada, and we're going to have that exact new moon happening on the 2nd of March at roughly about 1:30 in the afternoon. Now, what is one big thing that I am noticing at this new moon? I'm back looking at this Venus. I'm back looking at this Mars. I'm back looking at this Pluto. All three of them have settled at the exact same degree. This is the new moon. Now, the new moon in Pisces. So new moons are when the sun and the moon holds the exact same degree. Outdoors on a new moon night, it is very dark out there. Why? Because the new moon holds no light. The moon itself holds no light. When we look out the window from time to time, and we see the moon up there and we talk about how beautiful it is, the moon itself holds no light. It is the reflection of the sun that we are seeing. So that when the sun and the moon are in opposite pieces of the chart, the sun is shining her rays on the moon, and that's the face of the moon that we see. But when the sun and the moon sit together like this, it's a very dark night out there. But it is our time for our setting of our seeds. And what is Pisces? Pisces is very theatrical. There's a lot of actors and actresses that are Piscean, people who love to create. I always say when I do readings with people who are Pisces, you probably like to write poetry to the moon, or sit and create songs, or can be a great artist. And we've got Jupiter sitting next to this. Jupiter is asking at this new moon, create. And what I invite all of you to do is to create new options on your movement forward. New moons are about setting of the seeds. The full moon, which is roughly about 2 weeks later, the full moon in March is actually the 18th, but it's about the creation of it. The other thing with Pisces is that it is the most intuitive sign in the whole entire zodiac. So how many of you have been rethinking about pulling out your angel cards, your tarot cards, or your gemstones, or the interaction? Also remember, this new moon energy is fabulous for reigniting your gemstones. Jupiter, we're going to see this as we move towards very, very early April. We're going to see Jupiter coming to line up with Neptune. I can't wait to talk to you all about that as we get closer to the new moon. Now, one of the other things we talked about a little bit earlier, we talked about the square that had been going on in the heavens between Saturn and Uranus. So Uranus on this new moon sits at 11 degrees. Saturn sits at 19 degrees. For me, I personally use an orb of 7 degrees. So 19 to 11 degrees is a difference of 8. To me, that is too far apart. I do know there are numerous astrologers who use 10 degrees, or some may even use, Hellenistic astrologers I know will use a whole 30 degrees. And Uranus as well is in the sign of Taurus. That new moon is in the sign of Pisces. Earth and water work really well together. So one of the things that we are also saying, this Uranus is creating a sextile. Sextiles are positive openings. Sextiles give us the opportunity to be able to think outside of the box. Uranus, that planet of unexpected events, says, I don't want you doing the same old that you've always done. I want you to think outside of that box. And that's what our new moon energy is all about. Now, one of the things our astrologers may notice, there are no signs in fire signs. The only thing we see in a fire sign is Chiron. Taurus or Capricorn is earth, Aquarius is air, Pisces is water, Taurus is earth. So we don't have a lot of fire. And so I know, and I hear this from a lot of clients, Holly, I'm really having a lot of trouble trying to get out of my own way. And that's because there is little fire in the chart. So we have to create our own fire, our own zest, our own passion in order to make this happen. So let's move it a few days forward. Let's actually go now to the 4th of March. Now we've got the moon hanging out with Chiron. So now the moon at least has a little bit of fire going on there. And you can also see as well that Mars and Venus has now moved past Pluto. This is a good thing. That dance that they had been doing with Pluto has been very difficult because it's created a bit of descension that happens here. Venus in Capricorn can often as well be about breaking of contracts. It can be about, I once said I really loved you, but I'm sorry, I've changed my mind. I feel bad about that, but it's time for us to move our way along. Now we're going to get to the 29 degrees of Capricorn, and Jupiter and the sun comes together. That, again, I'm going to come back to say, create. What a lovely, lovely day of creating. We got a bit of fire. That moon is still in Aries, creating and helping with a bit of fire. It is firing up a lot of the conversations. Mercury will sit at 23 degrees Aquarius. Aquarius is air. I know people often think that Aquarius is water. Aquarius is not water. Aquarius is an air sign. This is not waves of water. This sign is waves of electricity. And so Mercury is having a huge conversation. The moon is igniting. This again is called a sextile. Fire and air work well together. Earth and water work well together. Jupiter and the sun hold the same degree. In astrology, when you have a planet that is the exact same degree as the sun, we then say that planet is Cazimi, Cazimi. So it means that the sun doesn't overpower it and overshadow it. It means that the sun promotes it. And Jupiter in Pisces, as I said, is wonderful for creating. Now we come to the 6th of March. At the 6th of March, both Venus, Mars is not letting go of Venus, right? Mars is kind of holding on to that Venus, has now entered the sign of Aquarius. And that is a very different vibration than Venus and Mars had when they were going through Capricorn. Why? Well, because Mars was exalted, as I said earlier, in Capricorn. So Mars had a whole lot of power there and was kind of bullying Venus a little bit. And we may have seen a bit of bullying going out there on the world stage. But then we've got Mars and Venus both going into the sign of Aquarius, where Venus probably goes, well, I'm glad that nuisance lost some of his power. Aquarius is the humanitarian sign. Aquarius is about the freedom sign. Aquarius in ancient astrology was ruled by Saturn, but in modern astrology is ruled by Uranus, the planet of unexpected events. So Venus and Mars is saying, rather than being in this, earth sign and feeling that need to be grounded, let's think outside the box. Like, let's come up with some different ideas. Let's really not worry about what's happening right now. Let's sort of project this down to 5 years ahead of time. So it's a very big change that we will see come about. Now, the other thing that's also going on here is that on the 8th of March, we're going to see the moon line up with the North Node. The North Node is our central sort of purpose in this particular lifetime. What are we doing? How are we going to make this happen? And there's conversations that's going to be had that day, somewhere around the 8th of March, in really the fact of, in order for us to be secure and feel that sense of security on our way forward, how are we going to make that happen? We come to the 9th. Now we see, Venus is a bit ahead. The sun is in that central kind of zone between Jupiter and Neptune. And Mercury has also done the entrance into Pisces. So we've got a lot of water going on around the 10th of March. And again, that Pisces side is that ability to do dreaming, the ability to do creating. For those of you who want to create a website, for those of you who want to create some musical, piece, for those of you who want to get into painting, for those of you who want to start writing your manuscript, or for those of you who want to think about sending your writing to a publisher, like, these are some fabulous days after that 10th of March. Then we're coming, Mars and Venus is still doing that dance directly in that Aquarius. Coming along to the 12th of March, we now have the sun the sun caziming Neptune. And Neptune can sometimes be about that sense of illusion, but Neptune is also connected to our dreams and how we dream. Now, you can still see in the chart, there's still no fire going on. So we're going to go through a good portion of the month of March, connecting with fire. So many of my listeners here may not realize I am an astrologer, but I'm also a life coach, or a spiritual coach, and a healthiologist. So when people don't find that they have a lot of fire either in their chart or in their life, one of the things I do recommend is that they light a candle and set a timer, maybe for 10 seconds, and stare into that flame in your chart, the flame, the candle flame. Then you're going to reset your timer for that 10 seconds, close your eyes. Internally, can you still envision that flame? And I invite that for anybody who is trying to work on some kind of a project that they can't seem to get that internal fire, that internal zest. And that type of an exercise, you can then lengthen it to 15 seconds. Try it. Can you still see it? Lengthen it to 20 seconds. We want to somehow or other get that fire within us. The other option, of course, is to stare into a fireplace, or maybe on a computer, put up a picture of a fireplace. I happen to really like that example of using a candle personally. Obviously, there's, dangers around a candle, blah, 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 but you know what I'm saying. Let's come to the 13th of March. Now we're heading our way towards the full moon. You're seeing that when the moon is going to get down here opposite the sun is when we're going to get to that full moon. Mars and Venus is headed towards Saturn. And those guys will actually meet in Saturn when roughly we get to the full moon area. But this is the lovely alignment that when I come back online and talk about the full moon, I hope you'll join me there. I want to talk about this unbelievable ability that we have not seen in pretty much over 300 years. I'll have that exact number when we come back. And that is such a strong alignment because in ancient astrology, Jupiter ruled Neptune before, Jupiter ruled Pisces before Neptune was ever discovered. And then when Neptune was discovered, the astrologer said, oh, well, we'll give the domain of Neptune to Pisces. It's a water sign. It deals with the oceans. So you're going to end up with two rulers coming together in the sign of Pisces. That'll be so sweet. That'll be so delicious to work our way through with that. Then we're going to come to the 15th. The moon is coming into alignment. We're going to have the full moon at like 27 degrees Virgo. So the moon still has to make it into the sign of Virgo. The sun will be at 27 degrees Pisces when this happens. So we're almost there on the 15th. The 16th, by the 16th, you can see that the moon will have already moved to Virgo. And the sun is almost ready to come into that full moon energy. And just like we talked about the new moon having Jupiter next to it, one of the things we're going to see is that the full moon is actually not going to be that far away from Neptune. So it is, I think personally, I think March is going to be all about the opening of a door. I know that some of my other fellow astrologers feel that March maybe isn't going to be a great time period. I have a tendency to disagree. I think we have turned a corner. Yes, of course, Pluto is still in Capricorn. Pluto entered Capricorn in 2008. Pluto, is the god of the underworld. It forced, as we talk about this new moon, that Venus and Mars to go down in the underworld with it and said, look, we have to disseminate things that are not working. We have to come back and rebuild and recreate and be strong. Let's make this an opportunity for when, Jupiter and Neptune will come together. So I will leave you there with that new moon energy for now. I hope you all create. I hope that you make the most of it and be able to see. I wanted to show the movement of the actual planets, because as above, so below. Thank you very much. Down underneath there, you can see subscribe, join. I hope to do these every new moon, every full moon. Let's make astrology that roadmap for us that we need as we make our way forward. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for showing up.